Looks like we got somebody who might have fainted down there, so if we've got a medic. No, hold on. I'm talking about there's somebody who might have fainted right down here. Oops, it looks like somebody may have fainted. That happens sometimes in the crowd. Just give them some space. If the medics can make sure to check on them. Oh, okay, we'll be all right. They probably were just standing too long. Just give them a little space. Where's our EMS folks? Looks like somebody might have fainted up here. If we got some of the EMS, somebody. Don't worry about, folks do this all the time in my meetings. I mean,
folks faint all the time whenever I show up in a room. You know, well, how times have changed. Unlike the days of Obama mania, today the only people who might be feeling lightheaded are the president's advisors, because no matter how hard they try to spin it, the reality is the president's approval numbers are in a free fall. A new AP poll reveals that President Obama's approval rating has plummeted now to 37%, with more than half the country disapproving of the way the president is handling his job as president. Now, this marks a record low for our fearless leader since taking office in 2009. So what gives? Is it his weakness on the world stage, his failure to reach across the aisle, the economy? Here to shed light on some of what looks like his collapse, broadcaster, author, and he's been an occasional Obama critic, entrepreneur, Tavis Smiley. How are you, Tavis? Good to see you.
I'm well, Sean. Good to see you.
Does anyone faint when you speak? Does that happen to you?
that doesn't happen too often.
No, that doesn't happen to me very often either. All right, here's his approval rate. Let me run through the numbers quick. 37%, lowest since he's been in office. Democrats have now lost their lead congressional ballot. Only 17% of Americans think we're headed in the right direction. We've got Obamacare, the website disaster, costing taxpayers $634 million failed dollars. A lot of reasons to be unhappy with the president. What's your reaction?
I hear your argument. It's plausible but not persuasive. Put another way, it's creative but not convincing, in part because the only numbers you've shown are the president's numbers. You know full well from the same data that I look at that the numbers for Republicans as a party are worse. The numbers for John Boehner are worse as a leader. The numbers for Congress are even worse. So if you tell the whole story, what the American people are saying is that our government is dysfunctional and everybody's numbers are low. The president's numbers are still higher than the Republicans or Mr. Boehner.
Well, hang on a second, because the Republicans now have a generic ballot lead, which they hadn't had before, and they have a lead now among independents, about 18%. So they picked up significant ground. Here's the bottom line, though, Tavis, and you've been critical of the president. 5 years. 5 years, he's going to double the debt. He will literally accumulate more debt in his 2 terms than every other president before him combined. And the economic numbers are abysmal. You agree with that? You don't think we've had a recovery?
I don't believe we've had a recovery, and I'm sick and tired of these economists who keep trying to tell us that we're experiencing recovery. Tell that to the millions of Americans who are falling into poverty almost daily. I keep saying to you and to others that poverty is threatening our very democracy. So there are any number of issues, as you mentioned a moment ago, that underscore the fact that too many millions of Americans have fallen into this poverty abyss. And so I have, in fact, at times been critical of this president. Having said that, on the issue that we're debating now, this shutdown of the government, Republicans don't want a conversation with the president. They want all-out capitulation. And to my mind, the president has done enough of that. He's done enough capitulating over the years. I actually like this Obama with a stiff spine, so I'm all for it. Drawing the line in the sand. My granddad said many times, there's some fights that ain't worth fighting even if you win, but there are other fights you have to fight even if you lose. He has to fight this fight, Sean.
He has to fight the fight, so he'll negotiate with the Iranians, but not the Republicans. So here it is. We have separation of powers. Republicans have passed 4 bills. President, yet. Same with Harry Reid. And he's not going to talk to them, but he'll talk to the mullahs in Iran. That doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think that's going to, I think that's an untenable position.
Here's what doesn't make sense to me, my friend, Mr. Hannity. What doesn't make sense to me is that Republicans have lectured us year after year after year about respect for the rule of law. Obamacare was passed by the Congress, signed into law by the president,
night after Scott Brown was elected.
Upheld by the Supreme Court.
After
It is the
Scott
law
Brown
of the
was
land.
elected.
What happened to respect for the rule of law? And the president goes on to win.
Wait a minute,
by
the rule
5
of
million
law.
votes, and you still
Our
don't want to honor that.
Constitution.
What happened to respect for
our
law?
Constitution is our rule of law. It's all predicated on that
Absolutely.
Constitution, and that Constitution gives the authority of spending not to the president but to Congress. So they also too were elected, and they ran on a platform that says they were going to repeal this. My last question to you. You often do these seminars with the state of black America. I've watched them on C-SPAN and different channels, right?
Right.
Are black Americans better off 5 years into the Obama presidency?
Let me answer your question very forthrightly. No, they are not. The data is going to indicate, sadly, that when the Obama administration is over, black people will have lost ground in every single leading economic indicator category. On that regard, the president ought to be held responsible. But here's the other side. I respect the president. I will protect the president, and I will correct the president. He's right on this government shutdown. Republicans are thwarting the rule of law with the Constitution. If they let this debt go into default, they're trampling again on the Constitution.
The sad thing
They've got to be responsible and accountable as well.
This is a debate for another day, and we go back a long way. We've been friends a long time.
We do.
But I don't want that for the black community. I don't want that for any community in this country. And if the president's policies after 5 years have failed, by your own admission, we could do better.
We can do better, but Republicans have to act sensible and responsible in this regard,
right.
and they're not doing that at the moment.
And the president needs to talk to them like he talks to the mullahs of Iran. He needs to open his mouth. He needs to have a conversation. He needs to negotiate. All right, just like we're talking right now. We're talking. We're friends. All right. We disagree, though. Good to see you. All right, Tavis.